Hi everyone, it's a rainy day here in Toronto and I'm still continuing my John Maxwell. I've had a productive day today. I normally do my chores at the weekend. I sweep my place and clean up and then I go out for a walk. So I did that today, and usually I try to do 20 to 35 minutes. Sometimes I do longer. Because today it was an overcast day, I just did the 35 minutes and I came home. And then I swept up and I did a bit of reading. And I'm a slow reader, so I like to buy my books if I can, because we have a short time to return them to the library. And I do a few pages at a time, because some chapters are really, really long. I like this book because it's just a few pages that you have to read. And today's thought for today is: effective leadership begins with being yourself. He who earnestly seeks good favor finds favor, but trouble will come to him who seeks evil. And so you'll see that how there are things that happen. It's one thing how others see us, and then there's how we want others to see us and how we see ourselves. And at the core of it is who we really are. And sometimes how we are is not how others see us, and how we want them to see us is not how they see us. So there's an alignment that is missing and that we have to work on. And John Maxwell says the weaker or more insecure a leader is, the more he tries to get others to perceive that he is different from the way he really is. So every person has an image in his or her mind of how they are, and every person that they come into contact with has an image of how that person is. And we all bring our world experience, what we've gone through, to that, how we see or how we view the reality of life. Self-acknowledgement takes time. And that's one of the things we do when we do our training. We do a lot of self-examination about what is going on in us. Why are we reacting to things the way we are? And how is it that other people react differently? Because we all come with a different background, a different culture, a different language skill set. And all of those things impact how other people see us. And then there's that beautiful psalm from 139 which says, you form my inward parts, you covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in secret and skillfully wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Your eyes saw my substance, being yet unformed, and in your book they all were written, the days fashioned for me, when as yet there were none of them. So each of us has that option to discover how God made us, how God loves us, and to reach our potential, to tap into our gifts, and to align with our true identity of who we are in Him. So the question for reflection was, how well do my perception of myself, others' perception of me, and my true identity match up? And those are the questions that we can reflect on. We can have accurate self-knowledge of who we are and how we deal with things, how we deal with problems, and also how others see us is important. So if people don't see us the way we are, so for example, if I'm educated and I'm competent and I'm a loving person and other people don't see it that way, then it's going to be an ongoing problem for me. And I have to work to make other people see that I am competent, I am loving, and I am capable. There are many things that impact that, and that impact how people see us. For example, in England, people swear a lot, and in America too. like they are very vulgar. And for people like us who come from Zimbabwe, it's not as common. So for us, it's very jarring. It's something that we find very offensive. The same way if you are sitting at a table and people are eating and you're talking about your ablutions, you're talking about going to the toilet and the color of your baby's crap. I mean, for some of us, we find it very, very offensive. And, other people may think, oh, well, she never goes to her family, or it's like she hates her sister. And some people will say that in front of you. And they won't even know my relationship with my sister or my brother, but they'll make assumptions. And, then this will go on, and then it will go to the police, and then the police will be told, oh, she's fixated and obsessed with them. They don't even talk to her. Meanwhile, it could have been a very different relationship where I went to my sister when I was invited, where I asked if my cousins were coming from Dubai or from somewhere else, if I could join in. And when my mother was there, my mother made the decision. So I would ask them if I can come, and she would say, no, I'm not going to ask them, you don't come. So she made the decision. She wouldn't even ask my sister whether I could come or not. And I used to say to her, but I will have no memories with anyone. I'll have no memories with my cousins. I won't get to know them. I won't get to know your family. And she's like, no, just leave it. You do your own thing. So, sometimes it's easier for one person to travel and to go where the majority of the people are, rather than have everybody come to you. I mean, I do like to entertain. I have had gatherings where I've invited family friends, or I've invited family over, because it's nice to entertain and to have something in your own place. But sometimes when there's 4 or 5 people meeting at somebody else's place, it's easier for me to take the day off and say, okay, I'll come there and I'll spend the day with you. Now it's different because of my health. I can't travel like long distances like that unless I take medication before I go. So I can use my essential oils to help me, or I can get medication from my doctor. And it's not just me that has this kind of a problem. There are lots of people who get travel sickness. They have to take medication before they fly or before they go on trips. And I noticed it after I got anxiety. The first trip I made from here to Milton to go see my mother, I was fine until we just about got to the station, and I got very sick, and I started vomiting. And thankfully the driver did have bags there. They keep them for people that get sick or garbage or whatever, so thankfully that was there. But it was the same thing when I was coming back from my trip from England. There was a lot of turbulence, and the pilot was trying to get through it as fast as possible, and I got sick. So before, when I traveled, I never used to get sick. I used to travel without any problems. But, life changes, our bodies change, and that's how we adapt. It's the same thing as when I went to university. I had a lot of friends who were gay. There are a lot of gay people in the church. I mean, it's for everybody. It's not only for straight people to go to the church. So how people see us impacts their perception of us. And, for some people, it's very, very hard, because some people don't like to talk about things. They don't like to talk about their health or their relationships or how things are impacting them. They like to just keep it to themselves and not discuss their relationships with their siblings or their parents or whoever, because it's got nothing to do with anybody. The only reason that I give these examples is to make a point that sometimes people think they know what's going on, but they actually may not know the reality. And so they put a perception onto me, which is their perception, and they have no clue what is going on. Just like when I traveled, when I went on my trip, I gave my mother my itinerary, I gave my sister-in-law my itinerary, and I gave one of my best friends my itinerary in England, so that they would know where I was going to be and my travel plans and when I would be with them and when I would come back. But I didn't keep in touch with anybody regularly on the trip. There was no need for me to. And again, if other people were worried about me and they wanted to know, that's on them. It's not on me, because I'm an adult. I've spent my university years where there was no cell phones, there was no WhatsApp. I spent whole years without communicating with people every day. And once in a while we used to get calling cards. So I'd get calling cards and then I would call my mother and my sister and brother and talk to them. Or I'd call from England in the same way. But now, just because we have cell phones, people think you should constantly be in touch. And you don't necessarily need to be. Sometimes people don't want to be in touch all the time. You know, it becomes like, oh, so now what? It's the same old, same old. There's nothing new to say. So, you know, some people prefer that. And in the old days, your phone was plugged into your wall, so you could leave it and you could go and do your own thing. Now your phone tracks you everywhere you go, everything you do. I mean, sometimes I leave my phone at home, or I turn it off. I have it in my bag and I turn it off, because there's no need for it. So these are just the things of mentioning, like how we are the reality and who we are at our core and how people perceive that. So for me, I've done a lot of volunteering in Canada. I've spent most of my life volunteering because I didn't want to just sit at home and do nothing. You get bored. It's nice to go out, meet people, be with other people, interact with them. And, you know, I've had so much unemployment. That's why I look for opportunities to get out and to do things with other people. Otherwise, you go stir crazy if you're on your own. I mean, now since COVID hit, it's going on 4 years, and I've spent most of my life at home. So I want to take my energy back to the office. I want to interact with people, be with people, and it's an adjustment. That's why a lot of places, they didn't go right back into 5-day weeks. They had hybrid, so they had 2 days in the office, 3 days at home, so that people could adjust their bodies, their psychology, they could get used to things and slowly move forward with their lives. So again, I spent all of my time applying for jobs yesterday, and usually on a Saturday I will take a break. I'll post my photos or what I'm doing, things like that. And there are some companies like Google where the more you share about your interests, your hobbies, what you're doing, they like that, because then they can see what kind of a person you are. And with Instagram, I shut it down because I get all sorts of weird people contacting me on Instagram. So I made it private. Only my friends can see it, or a few people that I worked with. And you don't have the option to make your posts some private, some public. And I didn't like the people that were starting to follow me. So I just shut it down. And so that's how we make our decisions and we move forward. And when you become a spiritual director, you also have a way of making your decisions. So decisions that benefit you and benefit the community and keep God at the center and help others along the way, those are fruitful decisions. The decisions that isolate you, shut you down, lead to poverty, and lead to a breakdown in your health and a breakdown in society, those are not good decisions. So for me, I didn't have a choice in my unemployment. Whenever people let me go, it was because there was work shortage, or they didn't want me there after they said they were going to extend it, or they had a mat leave contract. So it's been going on for 16 years, and I have been very strong. But at the same time now, I want that stability. I want to go back into those jobs where that $35 an hour to $50 an hour is going to translate into a salary for me so that I can move forward with my life, so that I can pay down my debts, so that I can buy a place, because those are the things I studied for. And when you have a degree and you have the qualifications, you obviously, that puts you above other people, because why would you become a chartered accountant if you're going to be paid the same as somebody that doesn't have the qualifications? Or why would you bother gaining the experience if you're going to be at minimum wage for your whole life, which is basically what has happened to me in Canada. And if you look at how much I earn, it's an unlivable wage to be on. So I'm keeping on applying. I'm focusing on where I want to be, where I want to go. And, we live in a society where, thankfully for now, we do have the drugs available, we have the essential oils, we have things to help us. But even here in Canada, there was one point where we ran out of Tylenol. We ran out of babies' medication, just basic essentials. The shelves were empty. There was no flour on the shelves. There was no rice. There was no toilet paper. So it's becoming the same all over the world. And that's my focus. That's what I'm planning to do, and that's where I want to be. And even with my music, I want to brush up on my music, especially as I'm playing more. I use the chords, but it would be nice to actually put in the music for the left hand, because I read music. I'm trained to read music, and then I could even teach children, or I could do something else with that, because I have a lot of talent, but it's getting that opportunity to use it and to earn the money so that I don't have to live in debt. Because the way I'm living now, it's like I'm living in Zimbabwe. It's constant unemployment, constant debt, constantly, having to ask people to help me with money. It's not realistic to continue living like this and to continue living in debt. And it's not fair to me, because if I've put in the work and I've done a good job, then I want to have a good outcome. And I want to have those blessings, that stability over my life. And so that's where I am, and that's where I'm moving towards.